That's right. Good evening, everyone. We want to thank you for attending tonight's commission meeting. At this time, I'd like the clerk to announce the meeting and to call the roll.
Roll call: Murguia. Here. Maddox. Kane. Markley.
Here.
Walters. Here. Philbrook. Walker.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
McKiernan.
Here.
Holland.
Here. This evening, the invocation is being given by Reverend Michael May of St. Luke's Lutheran Church. We invite you to stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We pray. Refine our words here tonight, Lord. Grant that the poor and vulnerable among us are served by what we do here tonight. Let justice be upright and tempered with mercy. Help us to serve you through one another and set aside point scoring, at least for the night. Create in us clean hearts, O God, and renew right spirits within us. Cast us not away from your presence, and take not your Holy Spirit from us. Restore to us the joy of your salvation, and uphold us with your free Spirit. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask the clerk if there are any revisions to tonight's agenda.
Yes, Mayor. Under the non-planning agenda, there are 3 ordinances. The one ordinance amending sections to Chapter 27 has been revised.
All right, thank you. That now brings us to the planning and zoning portion. I'd ask the clerk to please read the planning and zoning statement.
We would like to welcome all present to this meeting of the Unified Government Commission. Members of the commission are Mayor CEO Mark Holland, Commissioner Hal Walker, At-Large District 2, Commissioner Gail Townsend, District 1, Commissioner Brian McKiernan, District 2, Commissioner Ann Murguia, District 3, Commissioner Terrence Maddox, District 4, who was unable to be with us this evening, Commissioner Mike Kane, District 5, who is also absent this evening, Commissioner Angela Markley, District 6, Commissioner James Walters, District 7, and Commissioner Jane Philbrook, District 8, who was unable to be present this evening. As each petition is called, all persons for or against will be given the opportunity to express their views. If this is the first time that a particular petition has been before the commission has 3 options. 1, it can approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission with 6 votes. 2, it can override the Planning Commission's recommendation, but it would take 8 votes to override. Or 3, it can return the matter to the Planning Commission for further consideration, together with a statement specifying the reasons for the referral back to the Planning Commission. The consent agenda is the first part of the Planning and Zoning agenda. Items on the consent agenda have received a unanimous vote of recommendation by the Planning Commission. Unless there is a request to set aside an item from the consent agenda by the applicant, a member of the public, the Unified Government Commission, or others, then the Planning Commission's recommendation on all of the items on the consent agenda will be adopted by the Unified Government at one time. I will read the list of agenda items on the consent agenda, and when I have completed the list, the Mayor will ask if there are any requests to set aside items from the consent agenda. This is your time to stand up and request that an item be set aside if you do not agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation. If an item is set aside, the matter will be discussed and voted on separately. All items not set aside will be approved by the Planning Commission's recommendation. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of each petition. We would, however, remind you that there are a number of items on the agenda, and we would appreciate your efforts to make your remarks as concise as possible. We ask that anyone with a cell phone to please turn them off or switch to non-audio. Once the petitioners have made their presentation, anyone for or against will be allowed the maximum 5 minutes to state their views. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. The mayor and commission are required to disclose contacts with proponents or opponents on any item on the planning and zoning agenda. So at this time, does any member of the commission wish to disclose contact with proponents or opponents on any item on the planning and zoning agenda?
Commissioner McKiernan.
I've had contact with proponents of SP 2014-74.
Okay, let the record show. I see Commissioner Walker.
Well, I assume it applies to the ordinances as well.
It does not.
Does not?
Nope.
Okay, well then I've had no contact with anyone on any of these.
Thank you.
I will now read the items on the planning and zoning consent agenda. Under special use permit applications, item 1, SP 2014-66, Frank Lavender, renewal of a special use permit for a dirt and rock fill at 3924 North 49th Drive. Recommended for approval for 2 years. Item 2, SP 24-74, Michael R. Johnson, renewal of a special use permit for an event hall in conjunction with a specialty dress shop and office space and storage at 735 Minnesota Avenue. Recommended for approval for 2 years. Item 3, SP 2015-1, Rhonda Hall Smith with Dimples and Diapers. Special use permit for a daycare center at 3202 West Barker Circle. Recommended for approval for 2 years. Under miscellaneous, we have 6 ordinances. The first one is rezoning property at 5430 State Avenue from C1 Limited Business District to R1 Single Family District. Item 2, rezoning property at 4458 State Line Road from C1 Limited Business District to TND Traditional Neighborhood District, Design District. Item 3, rezoning property at 81 North Mill Street from R1 Single Family District to TND Traditional Neighborhood Design District, T5 Urban Center. 4, rezoning property at 240 South 65th Street from MP2 Planned General Industrial District to MP2 Planned General Industrial District. 5, rezoning property at 2933 South 47th Street from AG Agriculture and C1 Limited Business Districts to CP1 Planned Limited Business District. And item 6, vacating utility easements at 10621 Parallel Parkway. Those are all the items on the planning and zoning consent agenda.
All right, would anyone in attendance tonight or any member of the commission like to set aside any item of the planning and zoning consent agenda? Again, an item that is not set aside will remain and be voted on in one vote as it was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Committee.
Move to approve all items on the planning and zoning consent agenda.
Second.
Let the record show no one has moved to remove any item. It has been properly moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call, Murguia,
Aye.
Markley,
Aye.
Walters, Walker,
Aye.
Townsend, McKiernan.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, that brings us to our non-planning portion of our agenda. The first item is a non-planning consent agenda item. It is the culmination of the animal ordinances that were voted on at a previous meeting. These are the ordinances in their official form.
Move to approve items on the non-planning consent agenda.
Second.
Would anyone like to remove this item for discussion? If so, please come forward at this time. Let the record show there's no one moving to remove it. It is properly moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call. Murguia,
Aye.
Markley,
Aye.
Walters, Walker,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
That brings us to our final item tonight. We have the ordinance for the digital outdoor advertising. I'll turn this over to Mr. Bach for presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Commission will remember that last month we had a fair amount of discussion and presentation regarding the billboard ordinance, proposed changes to be made to it. We were left with some directives to go forth and try to determine ways to set up an ordinance that put us in a better position, probably from a community standpoint, of taking care of some of the older billboards in our town as far as eliminating them as we moved into the new frontier of allowing the new digital billboards to come forth. Discussions on this continue to progress clear up through today, which we believe that's why a blue sheet is submitted, and I believe this sets out a form that is agreeable to the current the ones that own the major share of the billboards within the community today. They're represented here as well. Some of the changes that are in the blue sheet, different from the document that went out on Monday, really pertain to those that were owned by CBS, and work with that ratio, moving it to 2.5 to 1. We believe the new ratios that are set out between the agreements, if all new billboards are brought forth in the community that can be, from the digital perspective, according to this, we would probably eliminate somewhere around close to 85 of the older ones in the city. I can turn this to Patrick Waters if he has any additional comments or details you'd like to make on this.
I believe you summed it up pretty well. I'm happy to answer any questions if commissioners have questions about the exact details. But
All right, I want to thank you for your work on this. We do, because these are revised from the proposal we had before, there will be opportunity for public comment. Anyone who would like to speak in favor of this ordinance is welcome to come forward to the microphone at this time. Anyone who would like to speak in opposition is welcome to come forward at this time. Are you coming in favor?
Mostly in favor.
Okay. Name and address for the record, please.
Mary Jo Shaney. I'm with the White Goss Law Firm, 4510 Bellevue, Suite 300 in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm here on behalf of and with my client, the Lamar Company, one of the billboard companies. Mr. Fessler, joined by his colleague Liz Ham. Mr. Fessler wanted to address one item with you all, but I wanted to say, before he gets up, I wanted to thank the commissioners and mayor and your staff, and in particular, we had the chance to work with Mr. Waters on this. It was a very cooperative and positive experience, so I wanted to let you know that. And that's all I have to say. Mr. Fessler is really the expert.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Bob Fessler, Lamar Advertising. We operate at 7108 East 48th Terrace in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm the Midwest Territory Manager for Lamar. We were charged when we left here at the last meeting to get together with our competitors and find a reasonable solution to achieve what we felt the commissioners wanted, which was to eliminate some of the signs in the intercity, some of the areas that they were concerned about signage, and I felt until 5:30 tonight that we had achieved that. CBS out front came to our office and we met, and we reached an agreement where we said, they asked if we would accept 1.5 to 1 on our larger signs, and they would participate at 2 to 1, and we were fine with that, and we reached, that was the only thing we really discussed. It was just simply what was the ratio going to be per company. So everything was fine, and then our corporate attorneys realized yesterday that when we looked at the signs, we were asked by Patrick to provide a list of potential signs that we might take down. And upon doing that, we realized that 3 of our signs are conforming, which means that if I take them down, somebody else could build them because they are conforming under today's rules and regulations. So we asked the question, how do we deal with that? Because if we're trying to eliminate signs, you certainly don't want more going back up. And I certainly don't want to take a sign down that somebody else can rebuild. So we felt like Patrick, we sent some language that was tweaked. We felt today that was taken care of. And then at 5:30, I got a text from Ms. Shaney that the cap on the number of digitals within Wyandotte County, that we had reached an agreement that each company would have a cap of 5, had raised to 7. We have some very real concerns with that from a lot of perspectives. If you look across the landscape of Kansas City, part of my duties not only cover part of Illinois, Kansas, and Missouri. I'm the immediate past president of the Missouri Outdoor Advertising Association, so I'm very sensitive to communities and the last 8 years what we've gone through in Kansas City, Missouri with people that don't like billboards. They don't like the way billboards look. They don't like a lot of things. So did I say that politically correct? So I have concerns that if you look at the counties that currently have digital billboards, there is no county out of the 5 major metropolitan counties that has more than 6. So, you know, there was a period of time when the window of opportunity was open in Kansas City, Missouri, and it was from 2003 to 2007. We went in and built 6. Our competitors chose not to build any. The window got shut when they decided that they were going to stop any new digital billboards or any new billboards, period. So we're concerned, you have 3 major interstates. You have 70, you have 35, and you have 635. If all of these digitals are built out, you're going to have 14 digitals, and 2 of those roads, the stretch of road probably doesn't exceed 5 to 7 miles. So you're talking about a lot of billboards, a lot of digital billboards being placed within X amount of mileage. So this is tough for me. I mean, I operate 25 digital billboards within St. Joe, Kansas City, and then across the state we have about 125. I don't know what happened between yesterday and 5:30 tonight. I would like somebody to tell me why the cap was raised. We were not asked if we were in favor of the cap to be raised. We weren't part of that discussion. And I'm saying that truthfully. If somebody wants to explain to me why they feel that's a good move, I'd be happy to listen, and you know, if it is, then maybe we'll change our mind.
Okay. We will take that question under consideration.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions before I sit here?
No. I do have a question for Mr. Waters. Do you, were you able to ensure that a new billboard could not come up in an old spot where one was taken down?
Yes, there is provision in 27737H, and actually I worked with Lamar on that language that would forbid, basically, even though the old board is taken down, we still count as if it's there. And so for spacing requirements, a new company couldn't go in there and put a new board.
Okay, that's good. And I'll turn over the other question to Mr. Bach.
The question about why was the cap raised really comes to the point that when we started to look at the commission's original objective was how do we maximize the number of older billboards that are taken down. This ordinance really plays on the concept of where we go with the ratio of when billboards get taken down to the new billboards and the new billboards are put up. We believe with the objective being to take down more of the urban billboards by allowing more of the 2 more on each one of those from the digital billboards to go in place, that we would increase that opportunity. And that's where that came from.
All right. I want to say I'm very pleased with where we are. I want to thank Hal Walker for initiating this. I'm probably one of those who could live without any billboards in our community and sleep well at night. But I also know the digital are moving forward quickly, and I'm not offended by them. I think they're in sometimes more attractive than some of the other billboards. I also know that we have 115 billboards in our urban core. 115. And this, by raising the cap to, allows us to get to about 85 of them being eliminated. We can take out 80% of the blight in our community by just raising the cap, not very much. So for me, I'm not a big fan of billboards, but I think this is a great compromise for the companies to be able to digitize and for us to reach our objective of getting rid of the blight in our urban area. And so I think it's a good direction to go. But again, Mr. Walker deserves a lot of the credit for moving this forward. Of course, Mr. Waters for working on this ordinance. And for the sign companies for coming to the table to help negotiate this. I mean, I think we have a better ordinance now because of the input of the two companies, and that's, I think that's important as well. Mr. Walker?
I started this quite some time ago, and I'm sure Mr. Waters will be glad to be done with this, at least for the current time. This, as I stated, originated out of litigation a number of years ago, which reached an impasse, which never left me as a good idea that if digital is the wave of the future, that we needed to be more open to that medium. Clearly billboards work, or Lamar and CBS would have gone out of business a long time ago, and we'd all have no billboards. But frankly, I do have a preference. I prefer the technology billboards to the static one face or one message board. I find them more attractive and more aesthetically pleasing. That's a personal opinion. It is my belief that in years to come, although the Legends is, and I'm not quite sure I'm versed in the covenants or restrictions that they have imposed upon themselves, but I do believe they're going to be more open to this type of technology and advertising. We have a casino, we have businesses that would like to be better represented on the interstates coming from all directions. So I think there is going to be a bigger need for these, and perhaps I am speculating somewhat on incomplete information, probably sooner than later. So I think that the objective here, I was happy at yesterday's version. I'm happy with today's version because it will largely achieve the objective. And I had a feeling at the very beginning, because we couldn't resolve the litigation, that no matter how we did this, we weren't going to make everybody completely happy. But you know, businesses evolve. I'm sure before the interstate highways, these small billboards were big money makers, and they just got eclipsed and never removed. And well, I could go on for a long time, and you all don't want to hear that, but I am in favor of this ordinance. I have been from the beginning, and I'm okay with the version that we got submitted today.
I would like to ask if CBS would like to come forward or out front and make some commitments tonight. Are you prepared to do that? Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Hyatt. I'm with Outfront Media, 2459 Summit in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm not going to say much, but I would like to thank again Commissioner Walker and Patrick for the hard work that they put into this ordinance. After the last meeting, I just kind of wanted to give you guys an update of what we had done to the existing billboards. I went out and I rode every sign that we had in the plant. We've gone out. There were 16 poster faces. Well, actually, there were 18 faces that we had went out and we scraped. We put new advertising on them, did some rehabilitation. So the ones that looked poorly, they're not painted or anything. It's too cold, and we had all the frigid weather at this point to do any painting to the signs. But we've reposted the signs. There's actually 16 poster faces already that we've converted to a new style that's called EcoFlex, and it's basically just a little bit larger than the advertising area itself, a little thin area, and it has a type of advertising that is a material that's recyclable, actually, that goes up there, and it's no longer the paper and the glue like in the old days that go up on the boards. So that's what we have on all these, and 16 of those faces of the ones that will remain up have already been converted, and we have other ones. But all the signs that will remain up, as soon as the temperature is consistently above 50 degrees, we'll be able to go out and we'll take care and paint all the rest of all the urban core boards and the ones that remained up. And I just really want to give you more an update on that. And then Mr. Mattson here is from our Chicago office. And like I said, if you have any questions for me on this as well, I'm happy to talk to you as well.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Commissioners. Mitch Mattson, Vice President with Outfront Media. Administrator Bach has asked me to confirm my company's commitment that with the initial construction of our initial conversion, that we will remove the advertisements located at 7th and Central and 18th in Minnesota, and I so hereby confirm.
Thank you. It is entered into the record, and we appreciate that.
That what you're looking for, Mayor?
That's just the beginning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, I want to make a motion.
Go ahead.
No. With that, I would like to make a motion to approve the revised ordinance on the blue sheet submitted this evening.
Second?
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, roll call.
Roll call, Murguia. Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Walker.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Did our attorney have a comment?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. There were two other ordinances in the original packet, and but the motion was just for the blue sheet one. But I would ask that the last ordinance, the third ordinance, be held over 1 week till May. It's a taxing ordinance. It requires 8 votes, and we only have 7 commissioners, or 6 commissioners and yourself for a total of 7. So you could vote on the second to the last ordinance, but I would ask the very last ordinance.
Thank you. So I will entertain a motion for the second ordinance.
It's the ordinance that adds the verbiage digital outdoor advertising services to our occupation tax list. Yeah.
Okay, so I move that we adopt the revised ordinance, the definition segment.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion from the commission? Seeing none, roll call.
Roll call, Murguia. Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Walker.
Aye.
Townsend. Aye. McKiernan.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
So now I entertain a motion for the third item to be held over to the next commission meeting.
So moved.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call, Murguia.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Walker.
Aye.
Townsend. Aye. McKiernan.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, that ends our agenda. I do have one announcement that I'd like to make. There was an issue that came up that surprised me last week that I'd like to bring some closure to. I was surprised when Commissioner Murguia came up and brought a 3-page letter that she wrote about some issues that had happened at a neighborhood meeting. I was disappointed. I expressed that night that I wasn't called, nor was my staff member called to ask about that. Apparently several of the people on this dais were called, but not myself, and I felt like that was poor process. I stated that last night. I did look into the issue, and I would like to offer assurance that I have confidence that my staff member acted appropriately and that her statements were misconstrued in the meeting. My hope is that in the future that any issues that come forward from any of the commissioners would come in an opportunity to address them first without bringing it out publicly without seeing all of the facts. It looked to me like, Commissioner, you were looking to bully a member of my staff, and I found that unprofessional and inappropriate. But I consider this matter closed. We are adjourned.